turn the focus back on street instead of car culture here in LA.
Abbot Kinney Boulevard in Venice, Ventura Boulevard in Studio City, 6th Street in San Pedro, 1st Street in Boyle Heights, South Robertson Boulevard. There you find communities that are anchored by emergent or emerging great streets.
The mayor made the announcement at the transit-oriented Los Angeles conference presented by the Urban Land Institute. A working group comprised of several city departments will be tasked with identifying potential streets to be included in the program, which will involve repair work and beautification. And to honor veterans this Veterans Day, the LA City Council, led by Councilman Joe Buscaino, presented Lieutenant John Russo of the LA Police Department with a special proclamation as he re-enlists in the United States Coast Guard Reserves. Russo first enlisted back in 1985 and subsequently served on Operation Desert Storm before joining the LAPD, where he has served for over 20 years. LAPD criminal gang homicide detectives have announced a $50,000 reward for information that leads to the arrest and conviction of whoever shot and killed Bijan Shushtari. The 17-year-old was driving two friends around in the Buick Electra in the area of Crenshaw Boulevard and Vernon Avenue on Saturday, August 3rd around midnight, when police say someone from inside a gray or silver vehicle began shooting at him and his passengers.
We also have a sketch of an individual that was developed with the aid of some witnesses that were present, of an individual we know that was present during this incident, and we're hoping somebody sees this sketch and recognizes that individual and calls us and lets us know who that person is.
If you have information, you're asked to call criminal gang homicide detective Paul Funicello at 213-485-4341. Councilman Curran Price recognized in council chambers McDonald's National Literacy Month. Instead of giving out toys with its Happy Meals, the fast food giant gave out 20 million books instead during the first half of the month of November.
Also starting November the 1st, McDonald's will give families anytime access to reading with a new interactive digital book each month through the end of 2014.
The free interactive ebooks will be available on McPlay, McDonald's Happy Meal app. There's reading, writing, and now playing. As Yana Kay tells us, school just got a lot more fun for some students in North Hollywood.
These North Hollywood elementary school students can't control their excitement knowing that they have a new park to play in right in their school's own backyard.
Do you guys like this park?
Yes! As part of the city's 50 Parks initiative, city officials, community members, and students came together for the ribbon-cutting ceremony to officially open the North Hollywood Intergenerational Multi-Purpose Center and Park at Tiara Street, right next to Maurice Sandak Elementary and New Horizons Academy.
It's awesome. I love it because it's so close to our house and our school, so whenever after school we can do our homework, then come and play.
Having this park right next to your school is just going to be such a tremendous benefit for all of you.
Residents say this park has been a long time coming and share the kids' excitement.
We're so happy to just walk from our school over here at our local park because I'm not driving at this moment.
The new park features a kids' play area with a rubber surface, shade canopy, new decomposed granite walking paths, concrete benches, picnic tables, and more.
This park is great. It's fantastic. Everything's new, and I like that.
The new park is more than an acre and a half and not only features great play areas for kids, but it also has activities for adults, such as this brand new state-of-the-art fitness equipment. This is the 19th of more than 50 parks the city is committed to building.
We are embarking on a plan to add parks in every neighborhood in the city where there were no parks, and this is one of them.
I think it's a really nice place because you could just come with your family, have fun, lay down on the grass.
A simple idea that officials hope will benefit an entire community. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
In addition to the park space, the project includes a new multi-purpose facility that is open to the community. In this week's list of things to do, walking in LA, hiking in LA, and helping the LA Regional Food Bank. Who says nobody walks in LA? For the 8th year, the Great Los Angeles Walk continues to go strong. Meet on Saturday, November 23rd at Echo Park Lake, located at 751 Echo Park Avenue. The 18-mile walk will be stepping off at 9 a.m. sharp and take participants across Sunset Boulevard, including the famed Sunset Strip, before heading down Wilshire to complete the journey to the ocean. The Great Los Angeles Walk will conclude with an after-party in Santa Monica at a location to be announced later. Go to greatlawalk.com. KFWB radio personality Leo Quinones, who hosts the Film Freak movie interview, is planning his 16th annual Film Freak Thanksgiving food drive for the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank, which has raised 250,000 pounds of food to date. This year, the event will once again take place in the parking lot of the Smart End Final at 11221 West Pico Boulevard in West LA, starting Friday, November 22nd to Sunday, November 24th. Donations can be dropped off from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Friday and Saturday, and 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sunday. This year, Quinones has set an all-time best goal of 50,000 pounds of food. And we're giving you an early heads up to set aside the morning of Thanksgiving for a big hike. Ranger Ernie Ibarra will be leading a 10-mile advanced Thanksgiving hike to the Hollywood sign to help you burn a few extra calories before you sit down for your turkey feast. This hike on Thursday, November 28th will start 1 hour earlier than usual at 7 a.m. and will end at around 1 p.m. Meet at the Griffith Park Ranger Station Visitor Center located at 4730 Crystal Springs Drive. You can find information on this and other Ranger Ernie hikes at facebook.com/Ranger Ernie. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. The city recently kicked off its month-long celebration of Native American heritage. And as Yana Kay tells us, this time around, our region's Native American community turned the spotlight on a sitting council member.
As Native American tribal music filled City Hall, a procession marked the beginning of American Indian Heritage Month in Los Angeles.
As an American Indian of the Wyandot Nation, this event is very special to me. My colleagues, I think it is important to celebrate the different traditions and cultures of our great city.
Last June, Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell was sworn into the Wyandot Nation by the tribe's chief, Billy Friend, who was on hand for the ceremony.
On behalf of our nation, we are very proud of him. He comes from a long lineage of leaders in the Wyandot Nation.
The city also recognized the historical significance many of the Native American tribes had on Los Angeles, dating back to the 1700s.
I'm a direct lineal descendant of the ancestry that built the San Gabriel Mission in 1771, and 10 years later, in 1781, we founded what is today Yagna, which is Los Angeles.
Several Native American organizations were presented certificates from Council for all the work they do on behalf of Native Americans.
We must never forget who we are and where we came from, and as you all know, it's always an ongoing education for all of us as Indian people.
And the hope is these kinds of celebrations will keep history alive for future generations. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
As we all know, the city is celebrating the 100th anniversary of the LA Aqueduct this month, and to commemorate the centennial, a group of mules set off on foot to mark the occasion. They're called the 100 Mules Walking the Los Angeles Aqueduct, and they made the trek from Lone Pine in eastern Sierra to Los Angeles starting on October 18th, arriving in Sylmar early this month in time for the LA Department of Water and Power's reenactment of the aqueduct's grand opening in 1913. During the aqueduct's construction, mules were used to transport freight and supplies to the work sites. These modern-day mules arrived at their final destination on Veterans Day at the Equestrian Center in Griffith Park, greeted by spectators.
And it was a great idea because we'll never see this again.
These mules walked a total of 240 miles during the 3-week journey. That's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
bulky item pickup? Call 311, the toll-free number for non-emergency services. 311, your one call to City Hall.
Don't worry, Patty. This isn't going to hurt me one bit. Hi, I'm Dr. Eric Shapiro in beautiful Encino, and you're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel. Open wide.
Councilman Blumenfield, thank you very much. Chambers of Los Angeles City Council. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Blumenfield, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Fuentes, Weezer, Caress, Krikorian, Labange, Martinez, O'Farrell, Parks, Price, Weston, Tim, members present, and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Cedillo moves. Mr. Fuentes seconds.
Next is community resolutions for approval.
Mr. Bonin moves. Mr. Buscaino seconds.
Mr. President, today is Tuesday, and now be the time for the flag salute.
I ask you all to rise at this time and ask that Mr. Fuentes lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. President. If everybody would put their right hand over their heart, ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, can we move forward at this time?
Yes, Mr. President, there are requests by members to continue item 14 to November 22nd, item 16 to January 7th, item 17 to January 21st, and item 27 to December 3rd.
Yeah, okay, no objection, so ordered.
Items 1 and 2 are items noticed for public hearing. The Department of Building and Safety reports that item 1 may be received and filed inasmuch as the lien has been paid.
So do we take one right now?
Yes, or you can approve it without objection.
Without objection, let's go ahead with that. Next item.
And that leaves item 2, and there are cards on that item.
So we'll hold that aside. Next item.
Items 3 through 12 are items for which public hearings have been held.
3 through 12. Any specials on 3 through 12? Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's do 3, 4, and 12.
3, 4, and 12.
3 and 4 are the two harbor commissioners, sir.
Very good. Next item.
Mr. President, that leaves the remaining items to be voted on.
Good. So let's, for the balance of that, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
And the ordinance and item number 5 will be held over for 1 week if not reconsidered.
If not reconsidered, all the others forthwith. Next items.
Items 13 through 30 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes required for consideration.
Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote. Oh, Mr. Parks, I'm sorry.
13, we have an amending motion circulating.
All right, amending motion, let's call that special because we'll hold that until we got it circulated. Mr. O'Farrell.
Mr. Chair, I request that we call item 20 special.
20 special. Thank you so much, Mr. O'Farrell. Mr. Koretz.
I'd like to call item 24 and 29 special for pending substitute motions.
Oh, thank you very much. 24, 29. So ordered. On the balance, Madam Clerk.
Yes, on the balance, Mr. President, there are cards on items 18 and 23.
So 18 and 23 we'll call special. On those other items, Mr. Parks, on any other items?
I'm going to ask on item 13, just ask for a request. So when you get finished, I'll...
Got it. Very good. So on the balance, Madam Clerk. All right, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
11 ayes. I do that. One citizen walked up to me, Mr. Buscaino, and told me they like how I do that, and so I do that for you out there in Channel 35 land. Next item.
Mr. President, that takes council to presentations or items called special.
Okay, so we're going to do presentations at this time. Mr. Bonin from very special, all people in Los Angeles are special, but this is a very special person right here. Mr. Bonin.
Bill, come on up. Friends and family can join. Stand behind if they want. Good morning, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This morning, I'm a little sad to be making the presentation I'm making today. Not that the recipient doesn't deserve it, but I'm doing it because he's retiring. This is Bill Bruns, who for generations really has been the face and the voice and the editor of the Palisadian Post, the community newspaper that serves the Pacific Palisades community in District 11. Thomas Jefferson once said that were it up to him to decide whether we should have government without newspapers or newspapers without a government, he wouldn't hesitate to choose the latter. And I think if people in the Palisades had a choice between city government or the Palisadian Post, I think they'd choose the Palisadian Post because of the good work that Bill has been doing over the years, really giving voice to that community. Bill's career as a journalist goes back long before he started writing for the Post. He's been a working journalist since 9th grade when he began covering high school sports for his community newspaper, the Encinitas Coast Dispatch in San Diego County. In 1960, he won a year-long contest sponsored by the LA Examiner, which gave him an all-expense-paid trip to Europe to help cover the Summer Olympics in Rome. That hooked him on reporting, especially sports reporting, and then he later attended the University of Redlands, and he became editor-in-chief of the school newspaper. At the same time, he was pitcher on the school baseball team. I'd love to cover the city council as well as be on it. That would make things a little bit easier. While he was at UCLA, Bill was selected for an internship at Life magazine in Beverly Hills, and that led to a job on staff for Life in New York as a news reporter and as a correspondent in the Miami Bureau and as a sports editor. After Life stopped publishing in 1972, Bill became a freelance writer, contributing to People and Money magazines and co-authoring a dozen books on various subjects, including tennis, sports psychology, racquetball, aerobic dancing, the stock market, and health and fitness. In 1993, people in the Palisades got very lucky because Bill was hired as the managing editor of the Palisadian Post, and for the next 2 decades, he built and maintained one of the most successful community newspapers in California. Post staffers under his leadership won countless writing and photography awards, and the Post established itself as a vital and trusted source of news and information. His excellent coverage helped create an informed and engaged population in the Palisades, and that in turn gave him more news to cover. He oversaw coverage of every major community event in the Palisades, including the Northridge earthquake, the successful campaign to impose a 35-foot height limit along Sunset Boulevard, the controversial renovation and expansion of the Getty Villa, community fundraisers to build a new library, a new gym, new baseball fields, and new athletic facilities, and typically Palisadian neighborhood disputes over mansionization, cell towers, dog parks, and skateboard parks, as well as the 25-year Potrero Canyon infill. Bill is more than the trusted leader over these years of the community newspaper. He has, as I said, been a voice and a face for the community. He has not just covered what has been happening in Pacific Palisades, he has, through his coverage, celebrated it and shared stories with other members of the community. He's been an old-fashioned newspaper editor, the kind who understood that an informed community is one that is strong and strives. We are heartbroken that Bill is retiring, although we know he has good things in store for his retirement. He has a number of friends and family here with him today. I'll let him introduce them. But we gave him a resolution, and some of you may know before I got into government, I was a community newspaper reporter myself, and back in my day, as I suppose in Bill's, used to get paid by the column inch. So I made sure to make this as long as possible. Bill, congratulations. You bet.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Mike, very much. We've had a great run from the time that I was the editor of the Post in 1993. Marvin Browdy was the city councilman then, followed by Cindy Mizikowski, and now Mike Bonin. So we've had 3 strong leaders to represent us. I'm sorry, yes. Good. Yeah. And Bill Rosendahl, of course. So we've had we have an active community. We've been active in relating with the city council on various issues over the decades, and we have some active community leaders who are here today with me. And of course, Norm Culla was an active member in our community, was the city council president, and he's now on Mike Bonin's staff and continues to be with Rosendahl before that. My wife Pam is here. Yes. Arnie Wishnick, the president, the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce in our town since 1993. We started the same year. Sue Pasco was one of my staff writers. George Wolfberg has been a longtime activist, community council president and citizen of the year. Joe Halper is active in the community in the Democratic Club, was a key member of our town when it comes to politics and other issues. Marie Steckmist was an environmental leader in our town. She wrote a column for me for 7 years called Save Our Earth, and she's here, and she also won Citizen of the Year honors for her work in Pacific Palisades. And then Marge and Bob Gold are great activists in our town with our village green, watching after our village green. And also they took the metro, the light rail down here from Culver City today, so from Pacific Palisades. So that's great. And then Katie O'Laughlin here is one of our treasured citizens of our town. She owned Village Books for 10 years, and it was a fixture in our town, and it was a sad day in our lives when the store had to close. But Katie came over here today from the law library, so thank you very much for coming.
And Bill, you got to address the city council, but I wanted to say how special it is. Mr. Bonin, you hit it right on the head. There's nothing like a neighborhood newspaper. This guy's an all-star. He's an all-American. My cousin Lloyd Ahern says he loves you, and all the people out there in the Palisades love you for what you do. So we want to salute you. Give you a big, big, big hand.
Okay, thank you very much.
Go in the back of the family and take some photos. Okay. Let's all come in the back and take some photos.
From that great celebration, as we have the move to the press room at this time, I'd like to call on Mr. O'Farrell and Mr. Sadia for very special work that we're all trying to do. And let's just get this organized. Sergeants, can we have a little hand right in there?
Mr. President, at this time, I would like to invite my colleagues Felipe Fuentes, Jose Huizar, and Gil Cedillo, if you're in the room, to join me, and this wonderful group seated to my left. Please join. I don't see Gil, but he's right here. Oh, there you go. Good, good.
Mr. O'Farrell.
Colleagues, we all recall that some 2 weeks ago, a terrible disaster, typhoon, hit the Philippines, which has displaced 4 million people. The death toll is not yet defined, but we know it's in the many, many thousands. It was a disaster of biblical proportions. I want to thank all of you for coming this morning in the gallery, and all of my colleagues for giving this moment to raise awareness for this great tragedy. The 13th District has such a rich cultural heritage and history with our Filipino community, and I know Mr. Labange, as chair of the Sister City organization and our sister city with Makati, this is a very important issue to you. And as mentioned, we have Filipino Americans spread throughout the whole entire city. It's not just the 13th District. It's a cultural heritage that is enriching all of us and has for many, many decades. The city of Los Angeles has one of the largest concentrations of Filipinos in the United States. I'd like to thank several Filipino community organizations that make their home in the 13th for their rapid response in organizing donation drives toward typhoon relief efforts. FACLA, which is the Filipino American Community of Los Angeles, is represented here at the podium, as well as Barangay, the Hi-Fi Historic Filipino Town Rotary Club, FASG, which is the Filipino American Service Group, Inc., the PWC, which is the Filipino Workers Center, and of course SIPA, Search to Involve Filipino Americans. Internationally, folks call this storm Haiyan, but Filipinos, as well as their families in the United States, call the storm Yolanda. That's what we'll refer to it as moving forward. Joining us today is our Philippine Consul General, Ms. Helen Barber de la Vega, and I would like to invite our Consul General to say a few words. Ms. De Vega. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mitch. Honorable Tom LaBonge and the members, esteemed members of the City Council of LA. I would just like to advise everybody that relief operations in the Philippines are in 24-hour full swing. 32,177 personnel, 1,311 vehicles, 104 sea crafts, 163 aircrafts, and 27,623 other assets from national, local, and foreign agencies are in the country, mobilizing the relief operations within 24 hours, on a 24-hour shift. And all I can say, this was made possible because of all the overwhelming support and generosity of governments, of communities, and even in our own city here in Los Angeles, very few people know that in less than 12 hours of the first news of Typhoon Yolanda, the first medical mission took off from LAX on Friday, November 8th. Manila time, that's already a Saturday, and it's called the Mammoth Medical Mission. So Los Angeles is not only a gateway for trade and investments, it is a gateway even for disaster relief operations. So we have, I think the United States truly has demonstrated that it is a reliable partner, a treaty partner and ally. So thank you very much to the United States of America. We are really very grateful. I've heard Mayor Garcetti rang me up 48 hours after the event, and I do know that the County Fire Department of LA also sent a mission as part of the relief operations. We are now in the mode of task force normalization, and we would like to invite Los Angeles to be part of these relocation and rehabilitation efforts in the Philippines for the victims. So thank you very much. All I can say is the sentiments of our people. Maraming salamat po sa inyong malasakit. Thank you.
Salamat.
Thank you. Thank you, Consul General. How lucky are we to have such an outstanding representative serving this community than Consul General De La Vega. Thank you. Colleagues and those watching from their office or home on Channel 35, please join us now for a moment of silence for Typhoon Yolanda. Let us send positive thoughts that the country receives desperately needed relief to recover. And now I would like to have this moment of silence.
Time, members, if we could rise, a moment of silence.
Thank you so much. And as we come out of this moment of silence, you see the images on the screen. We know that this is a fast-moving world. Things happen, but we mustn't forget what happened, and we must continue the relief efforts. I encourage everyone to do everything they possibly can to help the Philippines. There's no dollar amount too small. Any donation helps. And I have a list of organizations that are on my website, which is cd13.org. The single best is the Red Cross. Redcross.org is probably the single best source for that. And there's also a Filipino Red Cross that I encourage. Finally, colleagues, I would like to ask for your support for a motion that I'll introduce later that will provide additional relief to Filipinos made homeless by this disaster. And it requires something of our federal government as well. And it is to support legislation that would allow Filipino nationals legally in the U.S. to continue working, going to school, regardless of when their visas expire, until the Philippines recover from Typhoon Yolanda. And again, let me just reiterate, 4 million people displaced who have hundreds of thousands of loved ones on our shores, and we need to be very, very cognizant of that. We are the City of Angels, and we will live out that spirit as we assist our friends and families overseas. Thank you, and I know I have some colleagues here today who might want to speak.
Mr. Weezer.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I want to thank Mr. O'Farrell for organizing this presentation on something that's very important not only for the city of Los Angeles, but the world indeed. You know, it's amazing to see the images on television and to talk here in Los Angeles each and every day about our brothers and sisters who may have family in the Philippines who need our assistance at this time. In Eagle Rock, in a portion of the 14th Council District, where we have a large concentration of Filipinos, we banded together as a community to provide whatever we can in that area. In fact, this past weekend we had a candlelight vigil at the Eagle Rock City Hall. The Red Cross has been stationed at the Eagle Rock Plaza with the help of Goldilocks Bakery. They have been not only sharing information about what people can do here locally, but they are an outpost to provide information for anybody needing assistance in finding individuals or family members and friends who cannot be contacted through traditional methods. Also, many churches like St. Dominic's on Colorado Boulevard and the United Los Angeles Filipinos Church is accepting goods in Eagle Rock. So anybody who wants to provide assistance in those areas, those are two locations you can go to. Again, you know, we often talk about the great relationship that Los Angeles has had with the Filipino-American community here and in the Philippines. And in the time of need, it's great to see the city of Los Angeles and the Angelinos stand up and support at this time of need.
Mr. Cedillo.
I just want to thank my staff, Mal Iloman and Gerald Gubaton, for their leadership in working with the community on this matter. Let us never forget the Filipino veterans who, in our great time of need, stepped forward and helped us maintain our freedom and democracy. Now is their time of need, and let us hope and pray that we can step forward in a similar way. Thank you very much.
Mr. Fuentes.
Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell and members and the audience really who's paying attention to this very important message. I want to thank all of the members of the Filipino community here in Los Angeles and all Angelinos who have helped so far. On the eve of Thanksgiving, members, and to the audience out there, it's very important for us to do something to help in this terrible crisis. All of us are capable of doing something, and if we can't donate resources, and I was just speaking with Mr. O'Farrell, maybe there's a way for Channel 35 to stream the council-approved list of organizations that can accept money on Channel 35 so that our audience can help. But even if you can't do that, let's hold all of these families in our prayers. The tragedy that's taken place in the Philippines is just something that I can't even fathom. And we're all very grateful to have such a giving community in Los Angeles and to have such a support system, and we will get through this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. O'Farrell, you want to close?
I just want to thank everyone for the efforts so far. They've been very, very generous, and I just want to say may God bless the Philippines, may God bless all those affected by this horrible disaster, and may God bless the City of Angels. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell. Salamat. Next items number 2 and 3, I believe, are commissioners to the Port of Los Angeles.
Items 3 and 4.
3 and 4, then. Let's call them up. So, Madam Clerk, will you read it into the record? And then I'm going to call on Mr. Buscaino as Vice Chair of Committee.
Thank you. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Item 3 is the appointment of Ms. Vilma Martinez, and item 4 is the appointment of Mr. Edward R. Renwick, both to the Board of Harbor Commissioners.
Thank you, ma'am.
Colleagues, before you, you have two appointees by Mayor Eric Garcetti to run, been selected as port commissioners, unanimously approved in committee today. And we had an opportunity to have a healthy discussion in committee and also personally prior to committee as well. First and foremost, I want to thank you both for accepting this awesome responsibility of running our Port of Los Angeles, the largest trade gateway in the country. And you both bring extensive knowledge, skills, abilities to run the Port of Los Angeles. And as we indicated in committee, the Port of Los Angeles is the international gateway of cargo here in the country, but it ought to be the international gateway for people as well in light of waterfront redevelopment. Please share with my colleagues, with our colleagues, your background, your skills, your knowledge, and I'll start with Ambassador.
Well, thank you very much.
Want to put the microphone closer? Yeah.
Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. As most of you know, I've been a lawyer for over 40 years. I started out at the NAACP Legal Defense Fund in New York City, worked at a Wall Street law firm, came to California in '73 to direct the Mexican American Legal Defense Fund, and then joined Munger, Tolles & Olson as the partner. And in 2009, President Obama asked me to serve as our ambassador to Argentina, and I did that until July of this year. And I'm very honored to have been asked by Mayor Garcetti to undertake this very important position. I'm looking forward to receiving all of the help I can possibly get from all of you, because this is indeed a challenging assignment, but one that I welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Renwick.
Thank you very much for your very kind introduction. My qualifications pale in comparison to the ambassadors. I grew up in Los Angeles, in Pasadena. I'm now very honored to live in Councilman Bonin's district. My background is primarily in business. I've worked as an investment banker for Goldman Sachs and a management consultant for the Boston Consulting Group. And for the last 13 years, I've been an investor a partner at the Ukaipa Companies, which is a private equity firm primarily focused on investing in the logistics and distribution as well as retail businesses. It's a huge honor for me to be here in front of you. Los Angeles has been incredibly kind and generous to me, and so I'm glad to have the opportunity to make a small contribution back. And I look forward to hearing all of your views and all of your ideas on how to keep the Port of Los Angeles the best port in America. Thank you.
Thank you. So what we have here, again, Mayor Garcetti got it right. And we actually ask you, and what we've talked about prior to committee, is leaning on your colleagues on the commission. Mayor Garcetti fulfilled his promise of selecting 3 local residents on the commission. And we know that you will do great things for our port. In light of what an agenda item that's going to come before us on the importance of automation, the importance of port competition, on what's happening down south, the expansion of the Panama Canal. Give us your thoughts on making sure that the port remains number one in the movement of cargo in our country.
I think for the port to remain number one, and for anything to succeed, will require the talents of a lot of different people, the commitment of a lot of different people. As you might imagine, something like the Port of Los Angeles has so many constituencies, sometimes with diverse interests, and it's going to be very important for all constituent elements to pull together so that we stay number one.
Fantastic. I agree with everything the ambassador just said, and I just want to sort of reemphasize it, that one of the reasons why the Port of Los Angeles is the best port in the world is because it, I think, historically has done its best to balance the needs of the business, the needs of the employees, the needs of organized labor, the needs of local community, and the needs of maintaining an environment. So continuing a focus on balancing those different needs while pushing for innovation, while pushing for growth is, I think, the key.
Give us your thoughts on, lastly, on the importance of waterfront redevelopment, on making sure that the Port of Los Angeles also is a tourist destination. Just last week, a number of my colleagues were in Seattle, and we saw the thriving Pike Place, the thriving Seattle waterfront. We've been thirsting for that here in the Port of Los Angeles. Do we have your commitment in moving forward with waterfront redevelopment?
I've always thought geography is very important. This port is located in a particular community, and it needs the support of that community and can in turn support it. So I certainly am very committed to that. I look forward to working with you and your colleagues to make it a reality, and as strong a reality as possible.
Yes, thank you.
I absolutely agree. We need to continue to push for the improvement of the local community, and we need to push for the creation of more jobs.
Fantastic. Thank you. Colleagues, I ask for your aye vote in moving forward with the mayor's selection of our port commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buscaino. Mr. Cedillo.
Let me also stand to applaud the mayor's selection. Vilma, you are so capable and so qualified, and we are so honored. You have a storied history. You are so prepared for this. We were fortunate to have a recent discussion, and your depth of the understanding of the importance of the port in the global economy and how it positions Los Angeles. This may be one of Mayor Garcetti's most important and most significant appointments, and so I applaud you, and I also encourage our colleagues to join us. You, sir, you're very modest, and you bring a lot of skills and understanding, I think in particular, most importantly, the balance that's needed with our workforce, with our community, with our environment, but most important, bringing all those together for the benefit of our economy and maintaining our position in the global economy. And so, again, to reiterate, Mayor Garcetti got this so right, and I encourage our colleagues to join us in this motion. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zia. There's no other speakers on the queue, but Madam Ambassador and the Golden Knight, it's time to do real work down in the Port of Los Angeles. Just drive straight down that San Pedro Freeway. No other speakers on the queue. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
13 ayes. So ordered. Thank you very much. Good job. Next item.
Mr. President, now that there's 13 members, do you wish to reconsider the ordinance and item number 5?
Very good, Madam Clerk. That's reconsideration. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
13 ayes. Great. Now let's move that forward forthwith.
And now council should vote on the item, Mr.
Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
13 ayes. So ordered. Very good. Forthwith on that one. Next item.
Mr. President, for items 24 and 29, the substitute motions have been circulated, and those items may be voted on by council. First, council should vote on the question of whether to substitute, and then vote on the items.
Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, so for reconsideration, correct?
That was on whether to substitute. Now
Substitute
the
was
substitute motions are before them, the council for council to
Substitute is
vote.
forward. They've been circulated. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Very good. Thank you so much. Next item.
Item 2, call special for cards.
All right, item 2. We're checking with the clerk's office.
Okay, Mr. President, while they're looking for that, do you wish we can, item number 13, call special by...
I found the cards. Sean Murphy, item number 2, followed by Mark Sanchez, followed by John Walsh.
Yes, item number 2, I support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Mr. Mark Sanchez.
Good morning, Council. I live at 1000 South Hope Street in Los Angeles, and I have witnessed this gas station and everything that's happened there for the last 6 years. There is many codes that this gas station fails to adhere to. There's a conditional use permit that states delivery times from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, and from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. These are never complied with. These deliveries of food, gas, and sundries happen at all times of the day and night. There's also a city ordinance from AQMD that delivery trucks are not allowed to idle for more than 5 minutes. And yet we have trucks idling, spewing all kinds of diesel fumes into our apartment window. The area that's west of this building, the 7-Eleven, it holds a house that pressure gauges sit in. The space behind it is used as a toilet. Indeed, we've seen homeless people use it many times. But what is really outstanding is that limo drivers drive up, and when they can't get into the 7-Eleven because they claim that their restroom is out of order, they go behind this building and use it as a toilet. Surely this should be a health concern. We've witnessed homeless people asking folks at the gas station for money. When they decline, they're usually very intimidating. They've been chased off by the South Park bid and by LAPD, only to return an hour later. Finally, the most important thing that I think you should know is that in the time we've lived there, we've witnessed 2 riots at this location. Both times they've tried to block the doors, and the doors have been breached, and the interior been looted. Now imagine what can happen if there's liquor and alcoholic beverages in this location. To conclude, this owner has never complied with city ordinances, nor does he ever intend to. We ask that you not make this thing go forward.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh, please. Followed by Mr. Herman and Mr. Aikala. Mr. Aikala, you're third. You're the last person. Please be seated, Mr. Aikala.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or jwalshconfidential.wordpress.com. Always a pleasure to speak in front of you. You know, if you went to Chicago, you went to New York, you go to any major city and tell them in L.A. you're able to buy liquor at a gas station, at a damn gas station. You can get drunk at a gas station. If there's 2 things that don't mix, it's alcohol and gas stations and gasoline and flames. We have over 1,000 gas stations that have alcohol on the premises to be sold. This is incredible. They're going to vote for it because 7-Eleven gives them money, gives these city councilmen campaign contributions, and they're for sale. And I want to speak. And we, incidentally, are the #1 drunk driving capital of America. To all those out there who've had their loved ones killed, run over, ladies and gentlemen out there, you can thank the people up here because there is no limit to how many alcohol licenses they will approve. There is no limit to how many gas stations you can stop at, buy alcohol, and drink it in the car or drink it while you're driving. The blood, when they vote 15-0, the blood of the next victim of a hit and run from somebody who bought alcohol at a 7-Eleven at a gas station, those blood on the 15 times 2, 30 hands. Your hands are covered with blood. I don't know how you people sleep at night. HollywoodHighlands.org. Enough. Limit the alcohol licenses.
Mr. Herman.
HollywoodHighland.org. John Walsh, you're absolutely right.
Hold the time, please. Thank you very much. Continue.
Thank you for the interference, but again, HollywoodHighland.org. Here we're talking about alcohol sales on off-site consumption. How dare we take this approach nowadays in America when the largest consumptioners of alcohol are here? Not that we abuse it, but the permit of it is excessive. Who gives out these permits nowadays when we hear these accounts of bribery and corruption in Sacramento? How dare you say that we can open up alcohol with all these permits, and yet people who get away with DUIs, and I won't mention my councilman, you get away with DUIs, right? All American. I consume alcohol, but on a basis like Mr. President, so to speak, we do it in a fair manner in a public place, in a restaurant, or at home within our boundaries so we don't get a DUI. So I say to all of you in Los Angeles, if we wish to control the permits of alcohol in Los Angeles, it must stop here. The dime drops now. So wake up, Los Angeles, when we see another vending sales of alcohol in our streets and they're saying that we are alcoholics in Los Angeles. No, we're not. It's the process of giving out too many permits to restaurants, to vendors, to the sales of alcohol consumption. I've spoke about this many times, but yet I'm a drinker, not a smoker, not a toker. As the Rolling Stones would say, I don't get high with my life. So let's get back on topic and say this. Let's stop permitting these permits. They're illegal. FBI, look into these allegations of permits that are being given out to special interests, to those who abuse our rights.
Mr. Alcala, next speaker, please.
I'm going to see if I can stand on one foot. I'm going to see why most of the council members here, after their reunions, are probably not able to do any of that. And yet, they will be stopped by the police and they will be let go. Why are you saying no to other drugs and yes to alcohol? You are guilty. Just like Mr. Welch said, the blood of a lot of innocent people are all around you, in your hands, in your face, in your mouth, in your ass, everywhere. You are guilty. When homeless people go and urinate behind 7-Eleven, it's because you don't build bathrooms. When homeless people are on the streets, it's because you create ordinances.
Mr. Hold your time, please. Mr. City Attorney.
He is not talking about this item.
Please talk about this item. Continue the time.
Homeless people consume a lot of alcohol, and you allow it to happen. A lot of them are homeless because you keep allowing alcohol to be consumed all over the city. So don't go around double talking us. I do not drink, I do not smoke, I don't do any of the junk that you permit. And yet you don't permit people to have a home because you raise the taxes on houses, on everything. You are running a stupid system, and you need to step down.
All right, that completes your comments. Thank you very much. That is public comment where people are allowed to speak their mind on issues. Let's, no speakers on the queue. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Next item, please.
Item 13, called special by Councilmember Parks. An amending motion has been circulated.
All right, Mr. Parks, I have two public comment cards, if I could call on that. Donna Perriman. Donna, I say that correctly? Donna? Perriman, followed by Mr. Walsh.
I don't see that there should be any problem with the neighborhood council because city council has a lot of money that they should be giving over. I heard like $1 million that I could hear they can give it over to the go over to the neighborhood councils. I think the neighborhoods should be able to have the right on figuring out what they want done in their neighborhood. Especially since you don't allow video conferencing and Van Nuys, that so the people in the valley can't come over here and tell you specifically what they want, then you have to give it over to the neighborhood councils, and then they can decide what the neighborhoods need. So I just want to be fair, and let's find out, be fair on how much money you give to the neighborhood council, because certainly if you can draw all the money over to redevelopment and all the money you've thrown away, and especially now since you stole the money from Van Nuys video conferencing, let's be fair to the neighborhood council. Thank you.
Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at Hollywood Highlands, HIGHLANDS.org. This concerns, this is the supporting, this proposal comes from the Glassell Park Neighborhood Council. What we've had in the Times and the rest of the Mickey Mouse media here at City Hall Media have not pointed out that enormous amount of money from 3 or 4 or 5 neighborhood councils have been stolen. They've been stolen. And it doesn't amount to that much, $50,000, $60,000 stolen in the last 10 years. But if they really want to steal money, get elected to city council. But in fact, we are for tightening the checking account rules, and the neighborhood councils usually do a good job, but there are a few of them that are totally crooked, and everyone knows who I'm talking about, HollywoodHighlands.org.
No speakers on the queue. Mr. Parks, would you want to add to this? We're okay with this? Thank you, Mr. Parks. Mr. City Attorney?
And just for clarification, this is an amendment to the item and not the ordinance itself.
Correct. All right, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Thank you. Next item.
Item 18, call special for cards.
Juan, please come forward. Juan, you're called. I call up. Please come forward, followed by Mr. Walsh.
Item 18, communication from the Board of Recreation and Parks Commissioners relative to the Los Angeles Universal Preschool LAUP grant for the Ralph M. Pearson's preschool at Expo Center. Well, I think you should give them the money, but I think you should educate them well. Don't be telling them, don't say no to drugs, but say yes to alcohol. The whole educational system is like that. They keep telling you what a great country this is, and then you keep building more jails to keep people in jail. The land of the free, the home of the brave. If a soldier scratches a knee, they go running to the infirmary. They're only brave because they got better weapons than anybody else in the world. And they shoot at each other from time to time, friendly fire. So I don't even know what a great army we have. Anyway, no army is great. They all go around killing innocent women and children. Well, we're getting a little bit off topic here. Parks. Yeah, we need more parks so the homeless people can go sleep. But you know what you do? You put fences around the park so nobody can sleep there. Are you stupid or what? Yes, you are. Totally
Thank you very
stupid.
much. Thank you. Have a good afternoon. Mr. Walsh. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. No speakers on the queue. Again, thank you, Mr. Walsh. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
13 ayes. Madam Clerk, what's before us?
Item 23, call special for cards.
Mr. Walsh. Thank you. It pass. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Thank you very much. Next item.
Item 20, call special by Councilmember O'Farrell.
Mr. O'Farrell.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we just need to amend this motion, removing the reference to Stanford University. They're no longer a partner in this grant.
On item number 20, we do have one card too as well. Mr. Walsh, do you want to speak on this issue? All right.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. This concerns a USC statewide grant application, a Digital Manufacturing and Design and Innovation Institute. This is typical of it concerns the Defense Department. This is a typical issue that shouldn't even come in front of this agency. The city is out of control. Your airport is out of control. There's chaos in the city, and you're worrying about digital manipulation. You know what you can do with your digital manipulation. HollywoodHighlands.org. Keep the 1 minute, 16 seconds.
Let's open the roll on this item. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
13 ayes. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, how about number 28?
Yes, item 28 calls pleasure for cards.
Mr. Alcala?
I'm so surprised you found one of my cards. I put a card on every item. And I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about, right?
All right, well, thank you for your comment then. If you don't know what you're talking about, we want to hear. Let's speak.
Motion relative to the offer of a reward information leading to the identification, apprehension, and conviction of the person responsible for the murder of Stacy Goff on October 7th, 2013. We do need rewards because people are not coming forth for a lot of reasons. We're told not to be good Samaritans. We're told that if you get involved, you could wind up in a worse problem. They would probably go checking up on you instead of the person that. In other words, you always solve crimes on television, but you don't solve them in real life. And that's another way to manipulate the media to make people think you're doing a great job. The murder is not going to be solved like most murders. It is not going to be solved because it only happens on television. On television, every single crime that happens gets perfectly solved. There are very intelligent people on television. But in real life, nothing happens.
Sean Murphy.
Yeah, I support this item. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. No speakers on the queue. Open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Forthwith on that. Have we circulated this report, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mr. President, we're ready for item number 12.
Number 12. And there was a hearing in committee, so we call up Mr. Buscaino and staff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to welcome his first appearance in front of City Council as the interim General Manager of the Port of Los Angeles, Mr. Gary Lee Moore. Thank you, Gary, for being here. Colleagues, before you is the second amendment to the TRAPAC permit and revised budget for the TRAPAC terminal program. We heard this in committee earlier. This project is a major capital improvement project at the Port of Los Angeles for one of the largest container terminals. And although it's expressed in committee, although I'm disappointed with the many procedural decisions made by port executives, I was glad to have port staff in committee and ask some tough questions and hold the port accountable for the decisions that were made, and they humbly accepted responsibility. Mr. Gary Lee Moore, before you, give us an overview of the project and discussion that we discussed in committee in front of the entire body here. Focus specifically on the lessons learned and how the port will move forward to make sure that similar oversights don't occur for future projects.
Yes, good morning, council members, and thank you, Councilman Buscaino. Right now at the Port of Los Angeles, we have what we call conventional terminals, where the port is, where the containers are lifted off of the ship. This project here actually changes that in that we have our first automation using automated rail-mounted gantry cranes, also known as automated stacking cranes, rather than the originally planned rubber tire gantry cranes. As ships get larger, efficiencies are being looked at, as one of them is automation or partial automation of the project. This project here, the cost increase in this project has made us look at lessons learned and what we can do differently. I think anytime you take a project of a technology advance, since this is the first project in the Western United States, I think it's important to have peer review committees, somebody from the outside looking at what you're doing. I think also cost sharing with the terminal operator who the lease is with, it's important. And sharing that risk together is important and as we go forward. And I think communication internally, we need to do more to have systems in place to not allow this amendment to be delayed coming before you. And I think overall transparency. I think we need a greater amount of transparency, and that's something I've built my reputation on, and definitely in my job now as the interim executive director, I'll be bringing that transparency necessary to avoid this situation coming before you again.
We appreciate that. And in light of automation, we know it's coming. We need to embrace it. We need to bring labor to the table. Otherwise, the last thing we want to do is displace jobs at the Port of Los Angeles. I recall a dear friend, the late Jack Dillon, who shared with me longshore workers back in the day handled cargo by hand. They loaded and unloaded cargo by hand, and the cranes came, and which took everyone by surprise. And they were the cranes, when they arrived, they threatened the jobs there, and even more so now with a complete automation. And in light of competing with other ports across the world, we know it's coming. When we asked to have business and labor at the table in the discussion and handling and putting together and maintaining these types of terminals, how important is the automation of this specific terminal, not only to moving forward on the project, but also on the competitive edge as we face competition in light of what's happening in the Panama Canal?
Well, I think anytime this is our first foray into it. It's definitely, my understanding is it is happening around the world. And so I think it's great that we're doing this automation project. I think we'll learn a lot during the process. But I think it's what you said about us working and facilitating, although we don't have an official role with labor, I think we can do a lot with them and working with the terminal operators. It's really, looking at retraining, education, working with the local community colleges, looking at ways to help facilitate and minimize the impacts, because obviously so many people who live in the community work at the port, and anytime you're talking about a reduction in jobs, we've got to find ways and look at and help facilitate retraining, looking at other opportunities.
And I know we got that commitment. Frank Pisano, who was in committee, who indicated, and he's here today from representing TRAPAC. And we also heard from Chris Viramontes, the president of ILW Local 13. And we all agreed that it's home. It hits home for us. It's our family and friends who work the docks, and want to make sure that they remain there. Looking, for me going forward, colleagues, significant changes to major projects, decision-making process occur to make sure that this kind of oversight does not happen in the future. And I asked Gary Lee Moore and port staff to prepare a report back the next 90 days on what specific procedural changes will be made to rectify this problem and ensure this does not happen again. And what we've learned from this process is a lesson on how not to do things. But in the end, it's important that we support this and move forward. The CEO report clearly indicated over the course of the next 30 years, we do have a return on investment. In fact, they quoted an 8.75% return rate of return. And it is a decent investment, not to mention the importance of the project in keeping our port competitive. And it's my sincere desire that the new Harbor Commission use this as a cautionary tale. I ask for your approval on this and your support in moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Buscaino. And I know as chair of the committee, along with Mr. Bonham, we're very concerned as you move forward and look at all those amendments are there. No other speakers on the queue. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 aye.
Thank you, Mr. Port Director and Madam City Attorney. Forthwith on that matter. Thank you. Next item.
Mr. President, that takes council to general public comment.
Okay, we have public comment right now. Mr. Herman, I'm going to call on you first. Is there two there?
The most reprehensible, ignorance, mischievous, unrighteous, and wrong come when a corruption and scandal of bribery take place and the FBI has to investigate. May I have some quiet, please? Please. Anyways, I thought this song would be conducive to what I like to talk about and mention.
Speak to the microphone, please.
I was speaking to my mic, getting my notes, sir.
Madam City Attorney,
Pleased to meet you, council members of Los Angeles. Hope you guessed what's my name. Oh, yeah. But what's confusing is the ignorance you caused here in L.A. Mr. Weezer.
Excuse me, please lower your voice.
Of LA games are so reprehensible. Just as everyone wrong in council, there is a criminal lie. Pleased to meet you. Won't you call my name to all us homeless? The sinners are the saints, but not Lucifer. As long as heads fall short and sightedness of your foolishness. I'm not ridiculous. I'm sympathetic. That's my game here in L.A., everyone. Woo-hoo! Pleased to meet you, everybody. Come to Los Angeles every day. We got lots of games and permits and bribes to take. This is the place to be. Public comment, council chambers is all I want to do. I don't want to sing, but you bring me here on my knees. So I'm talking to all of you in Los Angeles. This is the show. I'm amazed, aren't you, about me today? Woo-hoo! So to speak, my fellow constituents, is this. There is ignorance when it comes to those who ignore the policies, the rules, and more so the ethical things we must do when we ask for a councilman to step down. The same world around. Councilmen who do illegal things, people who do sexual harassment.
That completes his comment. Let's call on the next public speaker. Mr. Walsh. Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Go right there, see the picture, the face of Rocky Patel, the undercover FBI agent. And I'd like to say hi to the undercover FBI agents here in the audience. And they're now white guys in fancy suits. Okay, Mike Gatto's father, was murdered. I have come in front of you. I live very near Silver Lake. It is crime infested. Now, you give out rewards, but there's nothing on this agenda for a reward leading to the arrest and conviction of Mike Gatto's father. HollywoodHighlands.org is now officially $1,000 reward. Nothing from the city, only from us. $1,000 reward for who shot him to death, stole his jewelry, and let him bleed to death for several hours while sitting in front of his desk at the crime-free Silver Lake neighborhood. That's $1,000. LAX was absolute chaos. Why was there chaos at LAX on 11/1? Because you have two police forces in a turf battle. You have the airport police totally separate under Patrick Gannon and the LAPD under its leader. And we're saying right now, we want the police force disbanded. You must put it in front of the voters. Charlie Beck, we want one police force. And can you imagine, and this man who got killed, Gerardo Hernandez, was El Salvadoreño, and the Hispanic Mexican politicians didn't give a damn, and he bled to death for 35 minutes right there in front of 100 to 200 cops.
All right. Sean Murphy.
Yeah, we need our streets paved, our sidewalks paved. And when it's the Hollywood Christmas Parade, I always go out there every year. Can you reply when it's the Hollywood Parade?
You're invited, John.
I know, but when is it?
Right after Thanksgiving on Sunday night.
Oh, good. Okay. You know I go out there. Thank you.
Donna Perriman.
Okay, this is Donna from Van Nuys. Last week you had no notice near City Hall telling people you were on recess. Must have been half a dozen people over there, and the guards didn't tell us, and the mayor's office didn't inform us for the people who don't have access to internet. If I was in Van Nuys, it would have been a small trip instead. Another reason to reopen Van Nuys video conferencing. About half of Social Security hearings are done by video conferencing. Is the wave of the future. Mr. Krikorian told Miriam that he would never reopen video conferencing in Van Nuys and San Pedro. It's not about saving money. You spend a lot, $100,000 for Christmas lights. It's done to silence voices. And also, you're talking about getting rid of the Brown Act, to silence voices, so we can't talk about the UN wanting to take away our ability to protect ourselves, our right to arm ourselves properly. With the vote of the Senate and the President, we're engrossing to take away our ability to arm ourselves if we choose. Remember, the Nazis' first step was taking away the guns before they took away the Jews to the ovens. Disarms came first. Remember that. There's 56 countries of Islam. We need to be able to protect ourselves against criminals and terrorists. We need to have the guns so that you may need to protect other people or protect yourselves. Do not vote for Democratic ticket for those who are voting today. He only thinks he only wants to have guns for people who hunt, and police only own guns. Don't go after guns. Go after murderers. Man who murdered the TSA agent should die, not life in prison. Use a gun in a crime, get punished. Go after the criminals, not the guns. I want to take away the rights, like they want to take the Van Nuys video conferencing. Bring it back.
Phyllis Doherty.
The coach, right? We'll do it tomorrow. I'm going to do...
Good morning. Phyllis Doherty with Animal Issues Movement. First, I want to thank Councilmember O'Farrell for honoring the Filipino community. I was the representative for the Filipino community in the Neighborhood Council, and it's important that we remember them now and always, because this is just one of many tragedies that they have, and they have made such a wonderful contribution to our community. Also, I just have to say it's been wonderful to see George Wolfberg, with whom I worked in the CAO's office, so it's been a nice day. I'm here on a very serious reason, though. There's an item that's going to come to you, Council File 11074S1, and I am leaving letters in your offices today that must not pass. There's no need for this. This is to allow the general manager of the Department of Animal Services to establish dog kennels in shopping centers. our community is full of small businesses. We cannot have our small restaurants right next to a dog kennel filled 24 hours a day with adult animals. This is written deceptively. These animals will be there 24 hours a day. They will belong to rescues. Rescues are not required to have any special training. They are not permitted. They are not licensed. They are not monitored, and they are not registered. You tomorrow could become a rescue. With 501c3, open your doors and start taking donations. That's all it's required. Get a dog, and you've got it. I'm going to read very quickly just a couple of things from this. That this would bestow on the General Manager of Animal Services with no known qualifications in zoning or public health the right to circumvent County Department of Health and Planning rules and regulations in regard to dog kennels, which must be 500 feet from residences and business, not just because of noise and odor, but because of disease. The general manager cannot assure that sanitation, drainage, and sewer lines are adequate to remove the continuing dangerous bacteria and virus-laden waste materials and other bodily fluids that are continually exuded from an unlimited number of adult animals. Please read this. It's very important, and do not approve.
Don Garza.
Good morning, City Council people. I'm here on a very urgent and very pressing business. I know I don't want to waste a lot of your time, but there's been a big problem in the council offices as of late that I've noticed. I've walked into many of them, and there isn't any chocolate-covered almonds or peanuts or any candies on the front desks. That's very disturbing. It's a disturbing trend, since sometimes I want to cheat on my diet. The only place I used to be able to come and do it was at City Hall. But on another wonderful note, on Wednesday evening, between the hours of 4 and 8 at the Suede Lounge at the Bonaventure, I'm co-hosting an event to bring in frozen turkeys, and we're going to be delivering them to the Union Rescue Mission. So I'd like to invite anybody to come out between 4 and 8 o'clock and bring a frozen turkey. Hopefully this is the first one, and hopefully next year, if we start early, I can go ahead and try and raise maybe a couple of 5,000 or whatever and pass them out maybe to some of the council offices, whoever really needs the turkey. So I really appreciate your time, but also be aware that people are not able to get their fix of chocolate and candies in the council offices. Thank you very much, and fill up those bowls and jars. Thank you.
Bobby Cooper.
I won't even give my name. You know, gentlemen, I'm so tired of coming down here, I don't know what to do. I really would like to give up my citizenship in this United States from what I've seen and what has happened to me in the past year. You got Asian people taking over my business, running a prostitution seminar out of my business with the help of Los Angeles police. Now, look, I don't know how to deal with this. You know, you got every agency in this California, Los Angeles, California, just corrupt. I've got machines in that building, computers, sewing machines, computers. I'd be a very Latinos who took, started off with 1999, $9,000, $5,000, 2003, $2 million, no, $10,000, 2009, $2 million in Rampart area, 2009. When my mother's dead, I'm still trying to find her body. Now, you tell me, with all the law enforcement that you have, why is it that you can't give up my mother's body, nor the insurance money that I was supposed to collect? I know doggone well somebody up here said, because at where I'm staying, somebody took those people some flowers in an envelope. I went to the bank to draw my money to get a bank statement. I got 4 Asian people showing up in black suits, you know, with envelopes. You know, I don't need this. You people know what the corruption is going on around here. They're trying to take my life. They tried to take my life on a Halloween, had a party. Get it together, please.
Jonathan Weiss.
Good morning. I'm Jonathan Weiss. I'm a self-employed attorney, and I'm honored to serve on your city's Bicycle Advisory Committee, the BAC. I currently chair the Advocacy and Education Subcommittee. This council unanimously passed the 2010 bike plan, which includes the so-called Backbone Network. The Westwood Boulevard bike lanes are part of that Backbone Network. I ask that you not break ranks, that you stick together and not break the backbone network. That would create a terrible precedent, and breaking up the backbone network would inevitably lead to actual broken bones or worse. On a related note, your BAC has no budget and no staff of its own. Instead, the BAC is supposed to be supported and staffed by city agencies, including LADOT, Recreation and Parks, and the City Attorney's Office. Even in a time of financial emergency in 2008, you voted to, quote, unfreeze one position of the LADOT to provide administrative staff support to BAC. That's Council File number 080475. However, that support has not been forthcoming. We have to print our own agendas and speaker cards, take our own minutes, and so forth. I don't think that's anything any of you council members want to do here on behalf of this august assembly. Taking minutes kind of detracts from our ability to run our meetings and concentrate on them. I ask that you recommit yourselves to implementing the entire 2010 bike plan, including the backbone network and including Westwood Boulevard. I also ask that you support your volunteer advisors on the BAC by ensuring the city provides the staff and support we need in order to help you make Los Angeles a safer place to bicycle. Thank you.
Jeff Jacobberger, who rode his bike down here.
Yeah. I took the train and rode the bike down.
Jeff
Jacobberger, chair of the city's Bicycle Advisory Committee, really here just to support some other folks who are here going to speak on behalf of bike lanes on Westwood Boulevard. You know, you all know Westwood Boulevard. It goes from the Expo line to a shopping center, through a neighborhood commercial district, to the dense office buildings right at Westwood and Wilshire, and then to the UCLA. If there's really any street that we should be exploring for bike lanes, Westwood Boulevard is it. You know, I know you as elected officials like to talk about how Los Angeles is a world-class city, and increasingly as you travel around to world-class cities, those are cities that have embraced the bicycle as a viable mode of transportation, and unfortunately, the city of LA is not there yet. I encourage you all to redouble your efforts to supporting and implementing the bike plan. Thank you.
Richard Hopp.
Earlier today, I sent my attorney down here to speak on my behalf regarding an agenda item, but it appears, since she is an attorney and representing me, the police officer downstairs required her to be admitted to show her ID. For my attorney to come in here and represent me, the police officer was requiring her to show ID. She called me. I said, "You're not going to show your ID because under the Brown Act, it's not required." According to this police officer, since she's an attorney and representing somebody, she is required under policy, not law, under policy, to show her ID. I just got finished talking to the watch commander. The watch commander says attorneys are required to show their IDs. That's amazing. Not only was I could not fulfill my comments in the agenda item, I had to be called all the way down here where I was in Thousand Oaks to just make sure this is on record. The Brown Act is very sacred. You're not required to show ID. Then all of a sudden this watch commander says, oh, she was not complying with security requirements. She went through the security. The only way they could ask for ID is after you go through security. But we'll keep having a Brown Act problem, and I don't like it. I did not get a chance to vent or have my attorney vent for me regarding an agenda item. To me, that's a person that's a schnorr. I don't like schnorrs. Do I need to go down and spend $435 to turn over this whole meeting? Maybe yes, maybe no. But the Brown Act does not require identification. And the last thing I don't like is when this police officer asked if she was a real attorney. I didn't appreciate that. Thank you.
Hiran Lee. If I said that correctly, L-E-E. Take your time. Don't run. Good morning.
Hello, my name is Heran, and I'm a graduate student in UCLA. Hundreds of UCLA students and staff are commuting by bike on Westwood, risking their lives every day. There have been more than that. 800 injuries caused by collisions for the last decades on Westwood Boulevard. That is almost 7 injuries every month. It shows that how much Westwood is dangerous for everyone, not only cyclists. What kind of Westwood do we want? We want Westwood Boulevard that people on every mode can travel safely. We want Westwood with less cars. We want clean and green Westwood. We want Westwood that doesn't kill my friends. Thank you.
Thank you. George Wolfberg, retired city employee, CAO's office, all-around good guy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm here to also talk about the Westwood bike lane situation. Back 30-plus years ago, when I was on the Bicycle Advisory Committee, along with Dennis Zine, a fellow member, one of the items that was most discussed by that committee was transportation for bicycles in the area of West LA, particularly Westwood. And it's still a problem. The current bike plan that's been adopted provides for a lane down Westwood Boulevard as a high priority, and I urge you to do whatever it takes to get this completed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alex, I want to pronounce it correctly, Alex. Alex from Glendale, is that correct, Alex? How do you pronounce your last name?
Bartrosov.
Thank you, Alex.
Hello, my name is Alec Bartrosov. I'm with the Los Angeles County Bicycle Coalition. I just want to start off with some comments from Councilman Koretz and a survey that he filled out earlier this year that says, honestly, I probably ride my bike so rarely because I don't feel safe on commercial streets competing with cars for the same space. I'm keenly aware that we're only scratching the surface on making this city a true bike-friendly area. In order to further that goal, I believe that we must push forward with the bike implementation plan, proceed diligently with the work with the community at each stage of the plan and moving biking in LA forward, coordinate with Bike Nation on a smart network of bike sharing in Los Angeles, and continue to stripe more lanes each and every year. He goes on to say in a letter to Mayor Villaraigosa in 2010, the city should work to prioritize routes, lanes, and bike-safe streets that connect the city and make it easier for cyclists to ride seamlessly throughout the city. Places that have a high number of riders should receive increased bicycle designations. For example, there are between 1,600 and 1,800 students, faculty, and staff that ride bicycles on campus at UCLA, and we should try to network the surrounding streets. We believe that Westwood Boulevard is a very important corridor in the bike plan. We think that Councilman Koretz should fulfill his promise of doing a study for that corridor. We now understand that he is not interested in conducting that study, and we would like to urge him to do so. Thank you.
Eric Brenz. Eric.
Good morning, council members. I'm also with the LA County Bicycle Coalition, but I'm here as a Council District 5 resident. It's not news to any of you. LA has mobility challenges. There's a lot of policies that this council adopts that prioritize transit, walking, and biking, and we need to figure out what the right balance is with that and the private automobile. The question really is, what is the role of a city council member in making those decisions? And we believe that the role of a city council member is making sure that the best information is available to have the department prepare good studies so that the public is informed, and then to convene the public in a conversation about these challenges. It's not up to the council member to get out in front and lead these things. These are very, very difficult challenges for all of us, and we understand the position you are in, but you have to convene all of the stakeholders in a room and get people to solve problems. If we are not able to actually have informed discussion, then we might as well just give up. Thank you.
Yvonne Michelle Autry.
Good morning. Thank you for an opportunity to address the City Council. First, I agree. I think there are too many liquor licensed restaurants, bars downtown. We blocked a liquor license and as a result have been targeted, especially General Jeff, who is a board member of D-Link, who was falsely accused of drug charges because we successfully blocked a liquor license in the largest recovery area of the nation. And I know I'm from Inglewood. You know, every billboard encourages the constituency to buy alcohol. That's the first point that I want to make. I'd also like to advocate on behalf of the right to share food, Mr. Labange, because I know you're responsible for trying to block that initiative. This is an engineered effort in the further extermination of the poor people, predominantly black people, who are conveniently disposed of in the street, in the trash. So if the police don't murder them, now you're cutting off the food. I advocate that we establish an ordinance so that churches and organizations that continue to feed have to clean up after themselves so they're not a blight, they're not posing any sanitation or any other health hazard to the constituency until these people are able to re-enter society and regain their life skills. This is an engineered effect. I mean, this is an engineered constituency. If you didn't know it now, you know it. 20 years ago, there were predominantly white males in the street. Now it's predominantly black people. They're, subjugated to police brutality, germ warfare, however you want to use them, genetically engineered experiments. Yeah, so, I know it's happening. And then finally, I'd like to appeal to Curran Price and the mayor relative to establishing what is market rate in the continued monopolization of downtown in the regentrification process, specifically Isaac Shomoff or Gilmore. As they acquire properties, they're raising the rent. One of my friends can no longer afford his rent because his rent has been increased 100%. That is Fernando Squared. We need to establish what is market rate.
Richard Robinson, thank you for your comment. Richard Robinson.
Mr. President, members, Ender's Game, starring Abigail Breslin, Harrison Ford, and Ben Kingsley, is gaining renewed attendance. Sir, when my father was a taxi cab driver, Hollywood's first black taxi cab driver in 1946, he had in his taxi cab Humphrey Bogart, Errol Flynn, and a very beautiful 19-year-old when he was 26, Norma Jean Morton, Marilyn Monroe, in 1946. Now, my life has been since then gaining emphasis centered around Hollywood. Now, I'm saying, if you folks have not seen this motion picture, Ender's Game, you'd be surprised. I'm talking about your professionalism as Hollywood people. You'd be surprised because these three extraordinary leading characters have found a product which is opening a new door to who? Young people. If you have not seen Ender's Game, you will be pleasantly surprised. Thank you.
Thank you. Butch Johnson.
I want to speak on gang symbols. The council is to be commended on what they've done on graffiti, and you should be absolutely ashamed of yourself of what you've done on shoes hanging on wires. A few years back, I saw a police chief and a mayor from another city on the television say if you call I'll have those removed within 24 hours. I called on some shoes on wires December 20th of last year, 11 months ago, and they're still there. I'm surprised the strings haven't rotted away. Please let's not have a not my job attitude. The average person can't tell if they're on guy wires, telephone wires, high voltage wires, or cable TV. Let's all agree that Public Works Department, the DWP, should be able to get all of those off of there. Every one of those companies pay a price to DWP to utilize those poles. They should take the responsibility and remove them. The police department is out there patrolling. If they see a traffic signal out, they call on their radio and get it taken care of. Why can't they call in on this? Probably because they know they won't be removed. Let's be proactive on this like you have on the other, and I commend you for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Butch. If you want to step to the side there, we'll get a deputy to help you for the address for those shoes. Carla Weiner. Is Carla here?
My name is Calla Weimer. I'm a visiting scholar at USC. I'm here today to ask Councilmember Koretz if we could have his attention, which is why I was here. But let me speak to the rest of the council about the broader issue of how we design a transit system in Los Angeles. And thank you, Councilmember. I'm a homeowner in the Westwood south of Santa Monica district. And we were promised by you, Councilmember Koretz, at our annual meeting in June that you had authorized the Department of Transportation to proceed with a study of bike lanes for Westwood Boulevard.
Could you just speak generally to the council chair, and then y'all will hear. Thank you.
I'm also a member of the Bike Committee of the Westwood South of Santa Monica Homeowners Association. We heard from the deputy to Councilmember Koretz that the study had been authorized. He told us that the process would likely take a few months, that at that point we can discuss next steps, including a discussion with your HOA committee. He said it would be premature at this time to do any active community outreach since we don't yet have an analysis of this option as it may apply to Westwood Boulevard. The council member has not made any commitments at this time regarding the floating bike lane plan, and he is waiting, as I hope that each of you will, to see what the analysis will show. Our committee waited to see what the analysis would show. Meanwhile, the Homeowners Association leadership has put out a lot of misinformation. We think the community needs to be well informed. We need to have the study that was promised, and we would like it to go forward. This is an extremely dangerous corridor for bicycling. It's a 6-block stretch within which, in 2011, there were 6 collisions involving cyclists, and that represents 43% of all collisions in that stretch. So cyclists are using that stretch in great numbers, incurring injuries.
Yeah. Jonathan Weiss still here? You already passed on that? Okay, good there. Megan Kavanaugh. Thank you, Megan. Good to see you.
Hello, council members. My name is Megan Kavanaugh. I'm getting my master's degree in nursing at UCLA, and I have a public health concern, and that is the lack of bicycling infrastructure on Westwood Boulevard. I'd like to urge the council, especially Councilmember Koretz, to complete the study of the Westwood Boulevard bike lanes and have a transparent public process. Young people, especially college students, are leading the way towards a more sustainable Los Angeles, and they fill the school's bike racks by 10 a.m. every day. I would really like to join them in this, and I'm actually a League of American Bicyclists vehicular cycling instructor, but I am terrified to ride in Westwood. And the reason is, every time that I ride in Westwood, I'm harassed the entire way, whether I'm on Westwood Boulevard or if I'm on a side street. I've had slurs that are gendered and related to my sexual orientation thrown at me, despite a driver not having any idea what that might be. And I've even had drivers tell me specifically that they would like to kill me rather than be late to wherever they're going on Westwood Boulevard, as well as in the surrounding area. This area has the potential to be a really great area to show the world what we can do in Los Angeles, to show the world that we are a progressive city and a city that is working towards a sustainable future. And I'd like to remind the council as well as Mr. Koretz that he called for Westwood Boulevard bike lanes in 2010 and now seems to be delaying that process. So I would really like to join my fellow students in riding my bike to school and to the hospital after I graduate. And I just don't feel safe doing that right now. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Don Ward, followed by Marcia Ferndale. That's Fernell.
Hi, my name's Don Ward, cyclist, Los Angeles. I live in Los Feliz, but I'm coming out here to support. We're not even really just asking for bike lanes on Westwood Boulevard. We're asking for an honest look at Westwood Boulevard, and that means a study of Westwood Boulevard so that we can have a real conversation about whether it's possible. And we want it to be possible because we want all of the bike lanes to be connecting across the city so that we can have mobility across the city. If you're not honest enough to sit there and face a study, the facts, then how are we going to have trust for you guys? I mean, we've been coming in front of you guys for, 5, 6, 7 years. And there was a period of time where we felt like we had your trust. And now the Spring Street bike lanes get erased. There's no consideration for us in Silver Lake on the Hyperion Bridge. Westwood Boulevard, we're not even going to find out the truth about Westwood Boulevard. We're going to lie to ourselves. So let's stop the lying, let's stop the games, and just do studies and actually figure out, let's just be honest here. We want to work with you guys, we support you guys. I love the city of Los Angeles, I love Alt 20, all that stuff, and we just can't even be honest about what we're doing here. So we want honesty, please. Thank you.
Marcia Fernell.
It's Marcia Farrell. I am neither a cyclist nor a driver, but someone who has witnessed all of this, and I am here to ask for, study to look into this whole problem and to make a concerned decision about what should be done for the bicyclists of Los Angeles, and particularly the Westwood area. I think that's a simple matter that could be taken care of. Thank you.
Dr. McLeod. Dr. McLeod.
Thank you, Chairman Lamache. I'm Ambassador Dr. Zyra McLeod, President of the African Community Resource Center and the International Association of African American Ambassadors to the continent of Africa and the Middle East. Today I appeal to Caesar. I really need all of your help. Myself, along with many other elected officials, such as my very own councilman of the 9th District, Councilman Kern Price, and I have been fighting for many, many years for the underdog. Right now, I'm in a situation where I need a letter from my other councilman, Councilman Perez of the 5th District, because the African Community Resource Center has been in question since my sister, which is an Ethiopian, has been in trouble. And I won't go into that right now, but right now, I asked the councilman, who is one of our board members, for many, many years. We go all the way back to the 80s, as I chaired the African Community Resource Center, the International Association of African American Ambassadors, the NAACP, the National Council of Negro Women, and many others. So I'm asking Mr. Correz if he would please write me a letter, along with my friend and chairman of the board, Councilman Price, so that we can retain this property. And if need be, whatever money is on the property, we would be more than glad to raise the funds and give it back to the city. But we pray to God that you will hear us. And on that note, I'm thanking you in advance because if I can have just 5 minutes with Mr. Carras, as well as place this on the next agenda item, because we need to get to the bottom of this, and we need your love, support, and help. Thank you, and may God bless each and every one of you.
Juan Acala. Juan.
I don't know why they keep worrying about my hat. I have to be harassed about my hat all this time. Sir, why do you worry about my hat so much? Don't you have anything else to do? I don't think he does. And they get paid. They get paid to sit around and harass people for nothing. The homeless get harassed constantly by people like you, and you get paid through the taxes that we all pay. You are our servants, and you've been hired to harass us. What a stupid society, right? City council, you've been hired to harass the people that elect you. You've been hired to take bribes. You've been hired to take, well, it's a stupid society. Look, think about it. You print the money. Why can't you just print enough money for every entity in government? Here it is, enough money for you, City of LA, enough money for you, County of LA, enough money for... Why do you have to harass the people? Why do we have to live a life where we harass each other? Why can't we just print enough money to take care of every governmental agency that's hungry for money all the time? I mean, that's a very futuristic concept, isn't it? Why don't we just print enough money for everybody and stop harassing everybody? Hello?
Dr. Tom Williams of 90032. It's the last card.
Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council, but also with Sierra Club Angeles Chapter Water Committee. And tomorrow night, we would like to invite anybody that's in Sierra Club to come to the Conservation Committee meeting, because we're going to set up a new committee for oil and gas and fracking and a few other things. But we're quite concerned about things that happen on 23rd and St. James Place. We're concerned about what happens in Aliso Canyon. And how about at Pico and Genesee? And how about Jefferson and Budlong? These are all active oil and gas fields within our communities. Oh, by the way, I forgot Playa del Rey. Whatever happened to the incident report for the explosion and fire at the Playa del Rey Southern California Gas Company? We're looking into these things because right now, the state of California, Division of Oil, Gas, Geothermal Resources, commonly called DOGGR, is trying to figure out how to regulate and how to deal with these things. So we are going to be coming back and trying to help LA City form regulations, ordinances, resolutions regarding oil and gas in our community. And in fact, there was one requirement for hazardous materials. It's commonly called community right to know. Many people do not know what is in their neighborhood. And the LA Fire Department says, well, you know, we're trying to figure out what's going on, but we don't know yet. When will we know what the LA Fire Department knows? Thank you.
That completes our public comment for this day. 40 minutes of public comment. Madam Clerk, what's before us?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
So ordered.
That clears the desk.
Any announcements, members? We have adjourning motions today. Please all rise for adjourning motions. Mr. Parks for adjourning motion.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, I'd ask we adjourn. I have 3 adjourning motions today. A request that we adjourn in memory of Eddie Brown, who was born in Arkansas in November 1910, passed away October 2013. He went to school until he was in the 4th grade, and he worked on a farm with his family. He picked a number of crops and had a number of farm duties. He was hardworking as a youngster and had a dream of opening a large store and living a good life. He met his soulmate, Alberta, in 1938, and they remained married happily for 74 years. Later in life, he and his bride moved to Los Angeles, and although there were no children in that union, he was like a father to all of his nieces and nephews. Eddie accepted the Lord and became a member of the Paradise Baptist Church, where he was a charter member and helped organize the church in 1944. Deacon Brown was the superintendent of the Sunday school for 41 years. He was a humble man of God and served Christ. Eddie worked in a shipping yard for many years and also served our country in World War II. He was survived by his brother-in-law and his sister-in-law and a host of family members. I also ask that we adjourn in memory of Ronald Ron Dungy, who was born in 1938 in Chicago, passed away November 2013 at Cedars-Sinai. He was 35. He suffered from a chronic pulmonary disease. Ron was one of Southline's premier communicators who made his mark in 3 different mediums. He was a popular radio, newspaper, and public relations personality in both Los Angeles and Las Vegas. He grew up in Washington, D.C., graduated from Harvard University, where he first applied his distinctive voice to the airways emanating from the campus radio station. He left the nation's capital in 1970 and headed to Las Vegas, where he immediately was offered a job as a disc jockey for KVOV from the moment he arrived. He moved to Los Angeles in 1971 and began his broadcasting career in earnest when he accepted a job as a newscaster at popular KGFJ. For the next years, Ron's voice could be heard as both a newscaster, sportscaster, and radio stations at KDAY, KKTT, KFWB, KUTE, and KACE, as well as KGFJ. In between radio contracts, he served the U.S. Air Force and also worked as an undercover agent for the LAPD. He also worked in media for LA Sentinel. Impressed with his broadcasting prowess, Brad Pye, later as the managing editor of the Sentinel, hired him as a reporter in 1989 and later as a sports editor of the newspaper. Ron left his journalism papers and accepted a position as press deputy for Maxine Waters in 2002. He's survived by his wife, Mary Davis, and daughter, Tanya, Jennifer, and Wynette, and a son, John. And the final one is asked to be adjourned in memory of Assistant Chief Robert Rock, who passed away on Thursday, October 21st, 2013, in Vista, California. Bob Rock was born September 1922 at Buena Park. He was appointed to the department, LAPD, in 1948, retired in 1979 at the rank of Assistant Chief. Rob Rock also served as the interim chief of police during the transition between Ed Davis and Daryl Gates. Assistant Chief Rock is survived by his daughters and a host of family members. His services were held November 14th.
Mr. Koretz.
Colleagues, I'm sorry to say that Cantor Joel Pressman of Creative Arts Temple passed away yesterday at the age of 63. As many of you know, he was the son of legendary Rabbi Jacob Pressman of Temple Beth Am. Cantor Pressman was not just a wonderful spiritual authority, he was also a beloved performing arts teacher at Beverly Hills High School for 38 years until his recent retirement. Because family and friends may want to come to council to be here for the adjourning motion, I'm going to wait to fully discuss this remarkable individual who, even when facing his imminent passing due to a rare cancer, spoke publicly and movingly to students and congregants in joyful affirmation of life. A memorial service is currently being planned, but there are no details yet available.
Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you. Colleagues, one of the worst calls you can get from a dear friend is when he calls you and tells you that his father has been murdered. And that's a call that I got from Assemblyman Mike Gatto last week. Colleagues, I ask that we adjourn today's meeting in memory of noted artist and educator Joseph Gatto, who tragically passed away on December 13, 2013 in Los Angeles, where he not only raised his three children, Mariana, Nicole, and Assemblymember Mike Gatto, but he also raised a generation of artists whose work reflects his ethos and values. Mr. Gatto was born on December 22, 1934 in Pueblo, Colorado, and moved to Southern California as a youth during World War II. After serving his country in the military, he attended Cal State Los Angeles, where he earned both his bachelor's and master's degree in art education and design before completing his academic studies at Otis Art Institute in Los Angeles, where he earned a Master's of Fine Arts degree. An uncompromising craftsman who created works of fine art across various media since he was a teen, Joseph applied this same passion to the teaching of the arts to thousands of students across the city of Los Angeles. Over the course of his 45 years as a teacher and mentor to young students, Joseph Gatto taught at such places as Cal State Northridge, Los Angeles Pierce College, and the Art Center College of Design in Pasadena. However, his greatest impact and legacy came from his years of service as a teacher at and co-founder of the Los Angeles County The Arts High School. It was there that he distinguished himself as an educator with such dedication to his craft that he earned various honors, including the Distinguished Teacher Award by the City of Los Angeles in 2003 and 3 national Distinguished Teacher Awards in 1988, 1989, and 1998. Joseph Gatto's memory will live on through his art, which has been featured at distinguished venues such as the Los Angeles Museum of Science and Industry and the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, as well as through the continuing works of his students and family. Public service is set for November 25th, Monday, at our Mother of God Council Catholic Church in Los Feliz. A private reception and gravesite burial, which is strictly limited to family and close friends, will follow. Our thoughts and prayers continue to be with the entire Gatto family. May Joseph Gatto rest in peace, and may the perpetrators of this horrific crime be brought to a swift justice.
Mr. Zedillo.
Let me add my prayers for the Gatto family. I served, obviously, and also have worked with the daughter at the Italian Museum, and it's a great family, and it's a horrendous loss. I want to stand today to ask that we close the memory of Senator Ben Miranda. Ben Miranda was a state senator in Sacramento. He, like many, had a migrant background in Texas and in Arizona and attended many schools. He had a difficult life early on in childhood, picking food products, cotton, fruit, food, and then later went to Vietnam to serve our country. He came back with a Bronze Star, and he used the GI Bill to go to college. He went to ASU and ASU School of Law. He graduated from law school, and he was a very prominent activist attorney in Arizona. In fact, one of his clients is the famous Elias Miranda of the Miranda ruling. Not related, but was his client, and he liked to let people know that. He then ran for office several times and became a state senator. He and I met at a conference of Mexican-American legislators in Mexico City who were there to meet to discuss the interrelationships and the value of improved U.S.-Mexico relations. After we met, we became close friends. He and his wife would visit here in Los Angeles frequently, marched with us on the mega marches that took place down Broadway, and spoke here on the steps of City Hall to thousands of people. When we signed the California Dream Act at Los Angeles City College, he was there at my side. I got to visit him most recently in his law office. He was big on organizing young people, big on the dreamers. And when I went to his law firm, it was amazing. It was a law firm, but it seemed like a community center, because while he had his office and his area for him to do work, it was filled with young people. And he had his office filled with young volunteers that he was mentoring and preparing for their leadership in the future. He's a great family man. He and his brother served. His wife is now a state representative. And tragically, this Friday, heart failure, a young man of 64 years old, heart attack taken away from us, much too early and much unexpected. There is a great loss in the state of Arizona and a great loss throughout this country for the loss of this great senator, lawyer, and military hero, Ben Miranda. May he rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. Mr. Koretz.
I just wanted to echo my colleagues' comments about the loss of Mr. Gatto and wanted to ask to be added as a second on that.
All members and all members should sign. And I just want to tell you, Mr. Gatto, as a neighborhood, as the councilman, always so friendly, always outgoing, creative, and known by people. It is a certain tragedy, as all homicide is tragedy. And we know that the Los Angeles Police Department is working diligently for that at this time. So we remember Mr. Gatto and all those who went before us, including those who we mentioned. Every day is a blessing. This meeting is now adjourned. Go forward and serve the city well.